Thank you very much for that, Laura. Really complex area, so it's useful for all of us, I think, to hear about these updates, and hopefully we'll hear more as cases go on. I'd like to thank our next speaker, Eilidh Wilson, who is a cancer support specialist based in Maggie's Highland, for talking to us about the Scottish Mesothelioma Network support group. Thank you, Eilidh.
Hello there. Thank you very much for inviting me along today. It's an absolute privilege to be involved in facilitating this group on behalf of and alongside the Scottish specialist nurses for mesothelioma. I'm going to sort of briefly be talking about just a timeline as to when the group started, how long we've been meeting and how we meet, how you get to link in with us. Really encourage you to come along to check us out. I'll also mention we'll talk briefly about why attend an online support group, or why is that a good thing for it being online. We'll mention sort of various topics that are discussed. It's very much led by you coming along the topics that will be talked about, what matters to you and what's relevant to you. And a little section on the feedback that we've had, and at the end there'll be how to access the group. So if I could have the next slide, please. Yeah, so just a very brief timeline. It was in August 2020 that Anna Morton got in touch with Maggie's Highlands. The Scottish Mesothelioma Network group had been keen to start an online group, and we were delighted that they'd got in touch with us, because at Maggie's Highlands all of our support is online. Some of it's happening in the centre now, but due to the pandemic everything changed to being online, so it was really easy for us and natural for us to set this up. So we had the first group happen in November 2020, and what's been absolutely brilliant is all the Scottish specialist nurses have been able to attend, and it's really good to have their input and support. So we meet every month on the first Friday at 12 noon, and I was just calculating back, we've now met on 18 occasions. And it just varies, the numbers. We never have hundreds of people, so don't feel nervous about tuning in thinking, oh gosh, there'll be so many people there. We've had maybe about 12 at the most, 12 to 14. Sometimes, occasionally, we've had one person or a couple, but there's always myself there and a specialist nurse too. And even when it was one person, it was time well spent. But usually we have maybe 3 or 4 or 5. So I would just really encourage you to link in. And anything else to say? Oh yeah, so we have had people link in from Aberdeenshire, from Dundee, Glasgow, Edinburgh, Fife, and obviously the Highlands as well. So we've had everyone from most areas. And if we could maybe go on to the next slide. Yeah, so why an online support group? Well, it's a real opportunity for you to be meeting others who are experiencing similar challenges. I've heard a lot of people with other different cancer types, as well as mesothelioma as well, that it'd be nice to meet with someone else with a similar condition. And for mesothelioma, that can be more difficult, because geographically, if you're in a wee village or a small town, there might not be many others with mesothelioma. So having a whole Scottish-wide network gives you more of a chance to be able to meet others. There are groups that will meet in the Central Belt or sort of in bigger areas, but if particularly with it being online, you don't have to travel, you can still be in your own home. And you can sort of, when you're in the group, with the specialist nurses being there, you can talk about up-to-date information on treatments. If you're experiencing any symptoms, you're welcome to sort of talk about that, and there may be sort of advice from sort of other people experiencing similar. And we've had a few people where it's been helpful sort of hearing from others the treatments that they have had, in terms of maybe making treatment decision choices. That's been helpful to hear others' experiences. As mentioned, we have a nurse mesothelioma nurse specialists attending each group, so it's a good opportunity to ask them questions as well. Lots of practical information and tips are shared, and it helps you gain a bit more sense of control in your situation as well. Can we go on to the next slide? That's great. So topics discussed, as I'd mentioned, are very much led by yourselves, and it's a real kind of setting where you can sort of a space where you can feel safe, but also be real in your situation as well. So you can share how you're feeling and hear how others are coping. Everyone's got sort of different coping strategies, and you know, with people attend, you might all be feeling very different, but you can all learn from that. So sometimes the various trials are discussed. So the Mars 2 trial had been discussed quite a lot because there have been some people who had been on it. So we're looking at in 2023. And as previously mentioned, you may be able to talk about the various symptoms that you're having. You might sort of get some good tips on what would be helpful. And also find out about other resources sort of about today's event that would be discussed, and maybe you'll be able to find out what's happening in your local area as well. And we just kind of talk about sort of life in general too. When you do link in, it's helpful for everyone to say hello and just roughly which geographical area you're in, and sometimes there's a neutral discussion of what the weather's like. That could be quite interesting as well. But you know, just what's happening in life. There's a lot of discussion about the effect of the pandemic and us not being able to get out and about. And I think a lot of folk coming really felt the group particularly helpful at that point. If we could go on to the next slide, please. Yeah, so I've got a quote here from the daughter of someone who's had mesothelioma, and she was saying, as a person who probably would never have gone to an in-person meeting, these sessions were really positive support to this person's dad during his illness. So she was encouraging, hoping positive conversations and actions continue. And a lot of feedback we've had is appreciation for the time spent sort of supporting learning from each other. Folks have said they find the time refreshing and encouraging, and an encouraging experience. And it's helpful to know you're not alone in how you're feeling as well. And a lot of folk have said it's a really positive experience. It's great to hear from people who are positive and living well with the condition, and also to be able to talk to folk who really understand your situation and what's going on. And yeah, lastly, could I have the last slide, please? So this is how you get in touch with us. You could phone us I'm based in Inverness in the Highlands. You could phone us on 01463 706306, or you can email us at highlands@maggiescentres.org, or the other email, which is the same one, is highlands@maggies.org. And I'd be very happy to speak with anyone if you felt a bit nervous about joining, or actually thinking, well, why would I want to come along? I'm very happy to chat with you about that. It's, as I say, it's a lovely, safe environment and very welcoming. And it's all you guys that really make the group, and it's a really good, positive time. So that's me finished just now, and I would just encourage you to come along.